That's the gimmick. I don't think it's too natural on the phone, but we're going to try. To keep my channel active fragrance wise, today I am going to do a first impression of some fragrances that have been getting some hype in the community. So, my first impressions of if I'm on board the hype train and too long didn't watch, I actually liked these fragrances. And I'm pretty hardcore. I feel like generally, I feel like I don't buy the hype train for a lot of these fragrances. I like Pacific Rock Moss, what was that, a couple of years ago, but generally, not too horny about it. But anyway, where are we going to start off today? Today, we're going to start off with Bortnikoff. Я навічу тобі англійському, що то воплотісти на свидання. Чисатко топузико. Толстый колчик. If you know what I just said, and you're actually hot, leave it in the comments. But anyway, Bortnikov, and I actually think it's from Thailand, so fuck the Russian. The Russian doesn't even matter. The Ruski, my terrible, Ochin terrible Ruski doesn't matter. But Bortnikov, Tabac Dore. What did I think of when I first smelled this? This instantly reminded me of what I would have wanted Sensei to smell like. If you've ever smelled Sensei, now I should say that with an asterisk mark because there's 3 different versions of Sensei. So whatever I've smelled of Sensei before, I don't know if it was the EDP, EDT, X straight, whatever. And now Sensei is Shihan or something, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. Who boy, again, but the point is, that's instantly the fragrance I thought of. But I thought of this is what Sensei should have smelled like. And Sensei, Shihan, whatever it is, has this really kind of old people coffee candy note, which I think is absolutely, I think it's fucking awful. This does not have that old people candy coffee note thing. But I'm thinking about that whiskey, that tobacco. It also, what immediately came to mind is when I think of something like Tom Ford's Tobacco Oud, it's what reading the notes of Tobacco Oud maybe I would have wanted to smell like. I see the whiskey there, I see the tobacco, I see the oud there. That's the kind of vibe of what I wish those fragrances would have been. This is what I get from this, right? I know that's kind of a weird analogy, but again, something like I wish Tom Ford's Tobacco Oud would have smelled like this, reading the notes. I wish Sensei, this smells more like Sensei, Shihan, than does nothing really like Tobacco Oud. Tobacco Oud is really just the notes, but again, really what I wish Sensei would have been like. And again, it doesn't have that terrible coffee note, but it is very thick. It's like a chocolate tobacco barbecue almost. Maybe that sounds kind of weird. I mean, this is actually the second time I'm smelling it right here. I mean, dude, I think it. I'm not. I wish I could think of a story. I like doing fragrance reviews when I can think of a story, but I guess I've been into fragrances so many years now that it's inevitable that I just feel like I'm running into that problem of I'm gonna be thinking of another fragrance at this point. But I think it's very potentially sexy, potentially a vibe fragrance, daddy fuck me kind of thing. I think when I think of chocolate and tobacco, it is. It's not like the recent fragrance that I did. That Vanille Havan. It doesn't smell anything like that, so don't worry about that if you don't like that. Although I think most people do like that. But the only bad thing I would say to this, 2 bad things, is this shit is very strong. Like when I put this on myself, dude, like Jesus Christ, I put a dab right there and I can already see it, dude. This looks like you pissed yourself, okay? So this does smell expensive, and it is obnoxiously not. It is obnoxiously on your skin. It looks like you fucking pissed yourself. It's ridiculous. And when it dries down, it does kind of remind me of Slumberhouse's Ore, which Slumberhouse Ore doesn't really do anything for me. I don't care about that dry down, and it does kind of remind me of that. But the first so many hours and hours of this is actually too expensive for me. If I was rich, I'd probably get a decant, but I'm gonna wear it more, and I'm gonna try to think of a story for it. But it does, again, it kind of reminds me of something that I wish Shihan would have been for Sensei. Next one we're gonna do Xerjoff. We're gonna do Xerjoff's Symphonia and that Italica, whatever it is, right? Xerjoff is kind of weird when you think about it. For me personally, it's always one of the fragrances are so expensive. It's hard for me to ever tell if someone really likes Xerjoff or it's just the Xerjoff. I didn't fucking say it right. It's hard for me to tell if people like them sometimes, or it's just like the niche snob that feels like they've spent so much money. Because although there's a number of Xerjoff fragrances that I do think smell good and I would own, Udin, I actually like Commandante. I know that's not a popular one, but I like that one. Lyra. But I feel like the most hype ones are like Neo. I don't give a fuck about Neo. Um, Noxos, totally lost on me. And I like tobacco fragrances, but I don't get it. But Symphonia is, man, this is a good one. Obviously the problem is it worth $500? I don't know if it smells like $500 good, but it does smell good. It instantly reminds me of, and I saw one other person mention this, so I don't know if it's just that it's too new, which granted, I've never smelled the other reformulations, whatever it was. I haven't smelled the past versions, but this definitely, right when I smelled this, I thought of Aqua Zucchero, Aqua di Zucchero. I actually wrote it down so I wouldn't forget, and I forgot. Time out. Aqua Zucchero, Aqua di Zucchero, Aqua Zucchero. What are the Profumo 101? Profumo Roma one, whatever it is, it reminds me of that a lot. Instantly when I smelled it. The differences between this is it smells, of course, much more natural. You definitely get more of that orange and a chocolate smell from this. And Profumo Roma, the Aqua Zucchero, does smell more synthetic. Excuse me, I just ate dinner, my bad. It has more of that very berry, sugary smell, very berries and sugary smell. And it almost has a bit of a soapy, clean tinge to it. Whereas this is, again, when I wore these both side by side, you can smell the differences for sure. But just the whisper of it, the vibe that you're getting, the bubble of it, instantly reminded me of it. But again, the the Xerjoff one is, of course, more natural smelling, much more orange and chocolate. And the orange lasts for a long time. It doesn't really become more chocolatey and woodsy till the dry down. That's, much more, it's not like a strong chocolate. But I would get this one, but it's $500. Hard to justify that kind of price when it smells just like a better clone, if you will, than Aqua Zucchero, which is a clone of pink sugar or something. Isn't it blue sugar? What the fuck it is? Another Xerjoff one that came out that's been getting a lot of hype lately is the Italica, whatever the fuck it's called. When I first smelled this one, I gotta say, I actually thought it smelled awful. When I just put it on a piece of paper to see if I was going to actually wear it, I was like, holy shit, this smells way too foody. Way too foody, way too powdery, sugary, whatever it was. I was like, ugh. I was like, I can't fucking wear this, right? But I gotta say, when I put it on my skin, boy, my skin chemistry, it was not off-puttingly sweet and foodie, gourmandy, whatever to me. I can't think of what bakery dessert, whatever this smells like exactly. I gotta start eating more unhealthy again to re-jog the memory. But it definitely smells very foodie. But when I put it on my skin, it didn't smell as novelty-ish, and it just smelled good. I can't think of anything. I know that's not too interesting probably, but again, I'm going to say it smelled pretty good. I liked it. I would wear it. Would I spend Xerjoff money for it? No. Not with my disposable income. Not even for a decant, but I do think it smells good. And finally, another fragrance that's been getting a lot of hype is the Velvet Tonka from BDK Parfums, whatever it is. I would say this was the least worthy of the hype to me. I really like the dry down. The dry down smelled fantastic, but I can't justify buying a fragrance just for a dry down. And I do got to say, when I smelled this, it reminded me of, especially on paper, and it played tricks on me. And again, these are just the first impressions, right? If more comes to my head, maybe I'll do a full review. But first impressions, you know what I mean. I instantly smell this, and I'm like, wow, this really does smell like a flanker of Rogue Smoking, whatever it is. And I like that fragrance. And I've seen some other people mention that as well. And when I put it on my skin, those whispers of Rogue Smoking, whatever it were kind of like coming and going. And I wasn't always getting that. Like, this fragrance was definitely playing tricks on me in terms of what I was getting. But definitely during the dry down, it smelled a lot like Rogue Smoking to me. It smells like it could be a flanker of that, right? But besides that, though, the opening and the largest portion of the fragrance, or so many hours when it's going on, I did get mainly just one of those very powdery tonka bean scents, right? And Unfortunately, again, I've just smelled so many fragrances in my time. It's hard for me to keep up with all this shit. But I was imagining, and I think all BDK perfumes that I've smelled, haven't smelled the entire range, have smelled pretty feminine. That doesn't matter to me. I wear a lot of unisex stuff. I actually own a few female fragrances. That doesn't bother me per se, but if you are someone that's looking for something manly, I have not smelled a BDK perfume that I think smells manly. Haven't smelled them all, but the ones that I've smelled, they definitely are not manly smelling perfumes. Fragrances. Anyway, I imagine something like this is in a girl's bathroom or something like that. She has like a leather purse, and in her leather purse, she had Rogue smoking and Tom Ford's fucking fabulous, and somehow they leaked in her bag and they exploded or some bullshit. Again, I'm not super horny about powdery fragrances personally. I do think it smells really good once it gets to the dry down, but my favorite part of the fragrance really is that Rogue smoking kind of smell. And I already own a decant of Rogue smoking, whatever it is. I hope I'm saying it's Rogue smoking. It's the red one, the cherry pixie stick that smells like it's a cherry pixie stick. I get it. Yeah, Rogue smoking. It smells like a cherry pixie stick that exploded in your face. That is then mixed with By Killian's Love and Initio's Rehab, something like that. But anyway. Those are my keeping the channel active. I did 4. That's why, whatever. I also am going to do a full review on Bohokoboko's Coffee White Flowers. Look forward to that if you actually like the fragrance reviews. So anyway, overall, all 4 fragrances, let's say 3 fragrances. I don't know about the Velvet Tonka. Velvet Tonka, again, I'm not super horny about very powdered fragrances. But the first 3, are they worth the hype? Besides the money, in terms of smell, I do think they are good. So I can see why people like them, right? Velvet Tonka, not so much. So the other 3, I'll give it a worth the hype, worth the try because of the smell. The money's ridiculous. I don't know if it's worth the money, but, whatever. Perfume shit is basically petty and a rich people thing anyway. I can't keep up with you guys. It's hard enough to get these. Just to get samples is killing me here. This shit is so expensive. But anyway, if you like the videos, like, sub, silly, comment, share, support the channel if you want to. I appreciate it.